Hey guys, what's up? This is 8-Bit Eric, and this is going to be my spoiler review slash first impression slash thought slash reaction to Star Wars Episode 7, The Force Awakens. I saw this last night, 7:30 p.m. showing, and this is the most nervous, anxious, excited, and worried, and stressed that I've ever been for a movie in my life. Like, it was so stressful waiting for this movie because I had such high expectations for it, because I did not want to be spoiled. Believe it or not, this is the most I've ever seen just straight up trolls online posting anything from fake absurd spoilers to actually posting spoilers. I went internet free for about 4 days this past week just to avoid it, because when live streaming or even checking your comments, your Twitter, your Facebook, there's people that think they're cute saying stuff like, oh, so-and-so does this, or oh, so-and-so does that, or hey, I heard that this guy does this and that, and to me, it's not worth it. It's not cute. It's really rude, considering that some people have been waiting decades for the story to continue. When I first saw Star Wars, I was about 8, 9, and Return of the Jedi was my favorite movie. When I finished Return of the Jedi, I always had that feeling of, this was a great ending. This was a great story. It's going to be interesting to see the prequel trilogy. You know, when I first found out about it, I was like in middle school when I heard that they were going to start making prequels. And it was like a perfect story, and when they announced the sequel trilogy, it was inevitable that you were gonna run into spoilers, because this is the social media age, and a lot of people say, get the fuck off the internet if you don't want to be spoiled. And that's, to me, that's not the right mentality. Be courteous, be considerate of people. Please do not spoil the movie for people if you haven't seen it yet. And if you do, please provide a spoiler warning. So, this is your spoiler warning. I'm going to talk about my reactions to the movie. Now, as soon as the theater lights turned off for this movie, I was, like, heart beating a lot, because I wanted to see the Star Wars text scroll go up, and I had my doubts if they were going to do that. I'm like, wait, this is a Star Wars movie, they have to fucking do it. And sure enough, when they did it and it came up, it just felt so surreal, sitting in a theater with people clapping and reading what's going on. And I gotta say, the text scroll, the story, the description, synopsis, whatever you want to call it, of Episode 7 that set the mood, was very entertaining to read. It was very interesting. Right off the bat, when Luke Skywalker is like the first 2 words that you're reading on the scroll, you know it's going to be good. Within minutes, we see a lot of similarities to Episode 4, which is what I had the feeling that this movie was going to basically mirror or parallel the storyline in Episode 4, which it kind of did. At the beginning, you have the Empire, or the First Order. Sorry, they're always going to be the Empire to me. But you have the First Order in search of something that Poe has, and Poe is the expert pilot, of course, and it just had a lot of that, reflections of Princess Leia being captured. They capture Poe, they try to interrogate him, but he sends the information to a droid. So that was one of my predictions, that BB-8 would be carrying something, and they would be looking for him. And from there, we run into Rey, which, I figured, everybody else figured, that BB-8 was going to find Rey, who was going to run into Finn, who is going to run into Han Solo and Chewbacca. So, for the most part, that outline happened, and I think it was perfect. Now, do I hate that I kind of was able to predict that based on stuff like the poster alone and just what would make sense? A little bit. It kind of ruined the movie just a little bit. I think maybe I could have avoided talking about it to people, or maybe even looking at posters or reading things. But honestly, if you're a Star Wars fan, you're going to be able to put that all together. You're going to be able to just think about that and put it, point A to point B in a way that makes sense, I guess. And, even though this totally derails away from what the EU universe had back in the day with new surprises and new shockers, I think it's a very great original story. Things I liked: the way they introduced the new characters, I connected with Rey almost immediately when you saw she was deserted on a desert, you know, living inside of a fucking walker, scavenging for supplies to make money, and, you know, just, you could tell how curious of a character she was when it involved anything leaving Jakku. And, you know, BB-8, awesome character, fell in love with the droid, like, almost immediately. He's probably my favorite robot, my favorite droid out of the whole series. And then Finn, John Boyega did awesome at his role. He was probably the most memorable character in this movie for me. Honestly, you know, a lot of people say Daisy Ridley was the main character, but for me, Finn was the main character. He had a lot of the comedic moments. I would compare him to the Han Solo. I mean, yeah, he's not as tough as Han Solo was. He's not as a badass, but his comedic timing, his humor, his, I guess, snarkiness, just reminded me a lot of Han Solo, and I think Finn is going to be a great character in the sequel trilogy. He was very expressive. He had some of the most memorable quotes, in my opinion, and he basically gelled pretty good in any of the scenes that you see him with Han Solo. It was just perfect. He, you know, best new part of the new sequel, not prequel, sequel series, in my opinion. Now, Han Solo. Everybody was giving shit because Harrison Ford's old. Father Time does not stop for nobody, guys. I kind of liked it that Han Solo was a rugged smuggler, you know, a seasoned smuggler, an old man. Pardon me, I'm kind of sick. But I kind of liked that he was kind of old. It showcased a new personality of Han Solo, you know, like that. Like how sometimes old people can be kind of loony and crazy and don't give a fuck. That's how I felt about Han Solo. And Chewbacca was Chewbacca to the T. But Chewbacca had a lot more funny scenes than ever before. And I think it felt really cool. It gave him a little bit more of a personality that you really did not see in the original trilogy. He had a lot of comedic scenes with Han Solo that involved his bow blaster that I just thought was kind of cool. I mean, you saw Han do a little bit of things that he never did before. It was a new dimension of Han. But, the big shocker, and I'm sure if you're watching this, you've already seen it, or you've read it, or you've already been spoiled, or I hope you didn't click in a spoiler video, is, my prediction that Kylo Ren was his son was true. I don't like the way that they revealed it. They just kind of hesitantly said it. The Supreme Leader said, your father, Han Solo, is with BB-8 to Kylo Ren, and I kind of did not like that reveal. I wanted the reveal to be towards the end of the movie, during the most climatic scene, and I think they still could have did it. So yeah, that big surprise kind of just came out like nothing, and I do not like the way that they did that. Now that might be a little nitpicky on my part, but opinions are subjective. It still went really well. The movie was still really good. And that arc between Kylo, Leia, and Han was basically the foundation for the events of future things to come in this trilogy. They haven't revealed it. I mean, they kind of hinted that Rey is his daughter when they said that, you know, he's basically a father figure to her. They use his exact words. And you can see the struggle. They, you know, one thing I gotta say is this movie was pretty fast-paced with its character development with Rey, Finn, and Kylo. Like, they didn't take forever to build up, like the previous 6 movies. And I gotta say, that wasn't a bad thing, but at the same time, it seemed a little too rushed. But you gotta think, they had a lot to do in the first movie. And it worked. Now, they really did not reveal that Rey is Han Solo's daughter and Kylo's brother, but there's a lot of stuff that you can make inferences about. Like, for example, they mentioned that Han Solo is like her only father figure that she's ever had. The mystery is still there. Why was she abandoned? Who knows? Maybe it's to prevent the dark side from getting her. That's very intriguing. It's going to be interesting to see if Episode 8 follows the Empire Strikes Back type of thing. I still think there's going to be a scene where Kylo and Rey are about to fight, and he says, "I'm your brother." I still think that. That's going to be pretty cool. I really wish that they wouldn't have revealed that he was Han's kid yet. And yeah, and then the other thing I have to say is that the Supreme Leader's CGI looked bad. He just, I mean, granted, he was probably, you know, I don't know. He was shadowy, but you could still see that he was completely fake. I don't think they needed to do CGI there for his character. I really did not like that. That's something else that seems a little nitpicky, but it looked bad. It looked like that was CGI that belonged in the Clone Wars, and it just felt a little out of place because a lot of the scenes had practical effects. A lot of the creatures that you saw at Jakku were actually practical effects, and it looked awesome. Seeing like live sets and live creatures and people dressed up, it just looked so neat on camera, and that one piece of CGI just stood out like a sore thumb to me. Now, I don't even know how to talk about it, but Han Solo's death scene had me on the edge of my seat. I saw it coming a mile away, and I was kind of scared to watch it happen. It's the first time that I kind of wish that these movies weren't happening, because it's so sad that Han Solo's dead. Like, it affected me. I feel like I'm mourning over Han Solo, like, because even today I'm still having trouble accepting it. I'm having trouble accepting that one of the most badass and beloved characters in the whole entire Star Wars saga is no longer with us. It almost makes me wish the expanded universe was canon, because at least Han lived on there. And it's just, I understand why they did it, because in order for somebody to, I guess, reach their potential as a Jedi, they have to have some kind of catalyst, and I guess Rey's catalyst is Han Solo's death, and nobody knows that that's her father yet, but I'm sure she could feel it, and it's hard to explain, but it needed to happen. It's just, I wish that it didn't happen in this movie. I wish it happened in Episode 8. It's very surreal that happened. The scene was awesome, like when he started to try to talk to Kylo, and the sun was like coming out and everything was like shiny and it looked like it might happen, and then the sun went away and Kylo was just like, "Fuck you," and just fucking stabbed him. And I was like, fuck, that's one prediction that I wish I was wrong at. And it kind of made me sad the rest of the movie, because there was still like, what, another half hour, 45 minutes after that I just had this whole thing in the back of my head like, dude, Han died, and like, I was still trying to process it. It just didn't feel right to me, but it was beautiful. Yeah. Princess Leia in the movie, she had a good, small role, but it was still good. Her scenes with Han were very memorable, and just their dialogue, you could tell that he was going to die. It felt a little Walking Dead-ish, you know, when you find a character on Walking Dead who starts to have those weird scenes where they're just like staring and just contemplating life and stuff. You're like, okay, they're the next one that's gonna die. And you felt it with Han. You felt that he was going to be a martyr, a catalyst for bigger things to come. And that last scene, that fight scene with Kylo and Rey and Finn in that snowy woods was fucking epic. Like, I was on the edge of my seat. The reason why I think Rey was so skilled in the Jedi arts so quickly is, honestly, I feel that the more generations in you are, it's kind of like, I don't want to compare it to Dragon Ball Z, but she's a third generation Jedi. I think it's stronger the more you go down. She's a fourth generation. You got Vader, Luke, and then you got her, or third. She's third or fourth. I don't fucking know. But I think the longer down you go in the family line, the better the Force is inside of you. But I also think maybe when she was a kid... Now, this is complete theory here that I'm probably going to go on later on in a different video. But I think she has repressed memory. I think when she was a kid, she actually had force abilities that were really strong, and somehow they made her forget them. They wiped her memory or something, because that's why she barely remembers being left alone. And I think when Kylo went into her brain and did that thing, he kind of awakened it. Now, I think I'm on to something. I think I'm going to make a video about this later on. So, I'm not going to go too much into detail, but this is my further theories for, like, episode 8. But I think he awakened what she already had. I think, you know, people are like, how did she learn the stuff so quickly? I think she already had it, and she somehow had it wiped from her memory. A lot of people say they might be cousins, that she's Luke Skywalker's kids, but I'm betting they're brother and sister. To me, that just seems a lot more dramatic. I was kind of disappointed that Captain Phasma did not have a bigger role in this movie. She kind of got Boba Fetted, where she was barely in it. Apparently, she's going to play a bigger picture in the next movie, so we'll see what that is going to entail of. Her character is still mysterious. So, the big ending of the movie, Luke Skywalker finally found. And it was so neat seeing C-3PO and R2-D2 interact with BB-8, and then at the end of the movie, R2 comes back to life and reveals where Luke is. And yeah, initially when I saw the ending, I was underwhelmed. And I don't mean like I thought it was complete horse shit. I was like, man, that's it? And there should have been something more epic. But now, looking at it the next day, I feel like it was as perfect as it could be. Now, overall, The Force Awakens, easily in my top 3 Star Wars movies. I can't rank them like 1, 2, and 3, but it's up there. It's in my top 3. It had those feel-good moments that the Star Wars series brings. It has those action-packed scenes, more action than a long time. I would say this is probably the most action-packed Star Wars movie. It had a lot of humor. Finn and Solo, they interacted awesome. Finn is perhaps my favorite part of this whole new sequel trilogy. The droid BB-8 just felt like a duck in water. He felt like he was, you know, he's been a part of the series forever. Poe, great character, has that cockiness, pilot, you know, attitude, and I could see him doing bigger things. It was interesting to have a focus on an X-Wing pilot character that, you know, he wasn't really in the movie that much, but he had a big role, and it was interesting to see a X-Wing fighter that was not a Jedi. You know, like Luke was a fighter pilot, but he was a Jedi. It was interesting to see an X-Wing fighter, basically, emphasized. You know, who else? Han Solo and Chewie were awesome in this movie. Leia, I mean, she didn't get much screen time, but she was still, you know, it was nice to see her. C-3PO, I really wish they would have had more with him. He was funny. He was a funny part. Yeah, overall, the action was amazing. This was easily an amazing movie. 15 minutes in, I knew this movie was just fucking stupendous, and I'm still feeling the effects today. All I've thought about today was this movie and, you know, Han Solo dying. It really struck me. Like, it feels like a piece of my childhood is gone. And then I also feel weird in a bittersweet type of manner. Like, I really enjoyed the ending of Return of the Jedi. Like, I really liked that the story ended right there. And then I'm excited at the same time to see it continue. But at the same time, it's kind of like bittersweet to me. You know, it's don't get me wrong. I love this movie. It's fucking awesome. I'm looking forward to the rest. This is going to be incredible. But, you know, I liked the place where the characters were at the Return of the Jedi ending, where everything just felt tied. And I guess it feels like you're growing old with something else that's growing as well, and it's a weird, surreal feeling to be able to go into a movie theater and see a new Star Wars movie that nobody's seen before, and it's history in the making. This easily is probably the movie of the year for me. Yeah, no other words can describe it. You know, fucking fantastic movie, and I guess that's. You know, I could sit here for hours just talking and rambling about it. But yeah, fucking amazing. So what did you guys think of the movie? Comment below. And yeah, thanks a lot for watching.